Everyone, JVD here from the Villains of Man, bringing you another comic book review over The Forge and the casting from DC Comics. This is a prelude or a prequel or basically an intro for Scott Snyder's Dark Knight's Middle, which I'm very, very excited to read, and apparently is a very good story. But before you even read this or even Dark Knight's Middle, Scott Snyder had went on to say that the beginning of this all started in his New 52 Batman run, which basically is in Court of Owls, Death of the Family, all the 0 Year stories, which is 3, which is Dark, Secret, Savage City, and Endgame, which I've covered every one of those, so if you'd like to go watch those before you start watching my reviews on the casting, but I wouldn't say this is good or bad, but it's very teasing. It's a lot to take in because you're getting 3 different stories all intertwined and not told in a continuous order, so that might lose you as a reader. To me, feel free if you want to read both books at one time. Just follow each story. There's one story based on Carter Hall, Hawkman, which they kind of rehash out his origin to fit all of this, which I'm really enjoying. I think it's my favorite part of both these books. You're also getting a story of Morganthif has told Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, my favorite Lantern besides Kyle Rayner, that there are some secrets that are about to hit his planet, and he sends him to the Batcave to investigate some stuff that Batman has secret. And then we get the story of Batman, who's traveling around the planet, gathering these mysterious metals that apparently he's been searching for, I'm going to assume, ever since the end of Endgame, where him and Joker are presumably dead. But it's really good. There's not a lot of blow-your-mind moments, but it's really good stuff, and I guess I'll get into some spoiler territory here, and I'll start with Hawkman's journal, and he's basically kind of narrating this whole thing, even through his part of the book and Hal's and Batman's. But basically, you're learning that in the beginning of his life, the mysterious ship from the Thangarians of Ninth Metal landed, and this is basically what's gave him and Hasset and Hawkgirl, Hawkwoman, whatever you want to call her, Shiera, they're cycles of reincarnation, and but for every rebirth that he has, he talks about how he sees these nightmares through the metal, and it goes on to show you some of the stuff he's looked into throughout his life, trying to understand what the ninth metal is, and it's not a gift, it's more of a curse, and it's a warning that they brought to him. And he talks about how there's 3 tribes in the beginning of mankind. I'm going to assume one's wolf, one's bear. He calls one birds, which broke off into the bat, and basically they're considered the Judas of the tribes, basically the bird, and you don't really hear too much about the other 2 tribes. But basically, he meets what I'm going to assume are the immortal men, and one of them looks like the wizard Shazam, who gives him a knife that lets him tear open reality and see into the abyss, which he obviously sees something staring back at him. And the last time you kind of see him, he is going into this abyss, and it is just him alone. So, really interesting stuff there. I've always liked Hawkman, though I've never really read anything from Hawkman, because the origin always kind of gets jumbled up, but they're kind of trying to rehash everything, and I guess that makes sense with the New 52 and the Rebirth stuff. With the New 52 Savage Hawkman series, I always thought he looked really cool because it seemed like the ninth metal, the nth metal, however you prefer to call it, kind of took on a life of its own. Like his wings were golden, he had the claws on his hands, all of his weapons didn't seem so primitive and medieval. They all seemed like they were all one solid color. They were gold, and everything was made of the ninth metal, the nth metal, and it seemed like it breathed new life to the character. I'm really, really curious of that, and maybe here eventually I'll go back and read that series. I know Deathstroke's in it, and that's really got me curious and wanting to read it. Then I guess we'll move on to Batman, and we find out that there's something wrong in the Earth's core. And Batman's got these stations, which I think this was number 14, which gets destroyed. Aquaman helps him save the day because he's been in the Earth's core, and he talks about setting up 15. There's a brief dispute with him and Aquaman, nothing that's really heated, but he talks about, you're hiding this not only from Earth, but from Atlantis, and he's like, well, let me tell you what you got hidden below Atlantis. So I'm assuming that's kind of a little snag there for some Aquaman story. I don't read Aquaman. I've never really liked the character. But that did get me curious to exactly what is under Atlantis. Being a big kaiju fan, the high sci stuff of the era, the Gamera stuff is my favorite, and they kind of hinted that maybe he was created by Atlantis, so that'd be cool if Gamera was underneath there. But anyways, to continue on with the Batman story, he's got Mr. Terrific and the Outsiders traveling through the multiverses like Earth 2, trying to read this energy signature that he's getting off these metals, and then we get to something else. He's got his own room in the Fortress of Solitude that Superman gave him, and he brings Mr. Miracle there because it's been locked. I thought this was interesting because you look at, I think it's in Death of the Family, Superman holds the Bat family there, basically the boys, and it shows you a level of trust that Clark and Bruce have with each other, and so much that now we're learning that not only will Clark hold them there against their will for Bruce, he's also got a room that he won't even touch for Bruce, because he's puts faith in what Bruce is after. And we find out it's an anti-monitor tower, and when he has no way in, he's thrown the key into the sun, and Mr. Miracle opens it up, and he's mad, and he leaves. And you're wondering, well, what could it be? Anti-monitor tower. But anyways, we see him battling this Griffin. Wonder Woman brings him a thing called the Sunblade, and he has learned that all the Greek gods have abandoned Earth and locked the gates of Olympus. So that just tells you whatever this Dark Knights thing is very, very terrible. So much that the gods are fearing it. But you learn that the Sunblade is the 12th weapon created for each pantheon. So I'm curious what the other 11 pantheons are. I'm assuming one would be maybe Norse. Because, well, yeah, we have Ares. Let's see. I don't know. I'm assuming maybe, well, yeah, we have, well, no, I guess Shazam is a Greek pantheon. He's got Zeus and whatnot, so, I'm curious what these other pantheons are, and more importantly, what are the other weapons? And she says it's made from the 8th metal, and she gives it to him, and not to give up the light for the darkness, because we all know Batman's, he's all about the darkness. But anyways, the blade draws him to Arizona, where he meets, Talia al Ghul, and she's got a dagger that was forged by Shazam of the 8th metal, and they trade. That leaves off, we get to Green Lantern, who goes to explore the Batcave due to Ganthet, and right there, Hal Jordan should really question this, because since Jeff Johns wrote the Green Lanterns, the Lanterns are starting to learn that the Guardians keep a lot of secrets, which makes a lot of sense because they've been around, basically since the creation of the universe. And you would think right there as a reader, especially if you're Green Lantern, he would be like, hold up, Ganthet, you need to come clean here. What am I dealing with? Instead of going directly to the Batcave. But I guess in a way that makes sense, because Hal and Bruce have always kind of had a rivalry with each other, and they don't get along the greatest. But I guess if that would give Hal a chance to snoop around the Batcave without Batman around, I guess maybe he was just going to jump on it without asking a whole lot of questions. But anyways, he gets jumped by Duke, and basically they start looking into what's going on, what Batman's hiding, and as he finds a secret wall, he realizes whatever back there is affecting Hal's ring, and we see Psycho Pirate's mask, which this kind of gets interesting because Psycho Pirate's mask had interacted with the Button during that storyline, so it makes me wonder what the Button's made out of. But we got the Trident of Atlantis. You see Wonder Woman's bracers and whatnot, and apparently they're all made of these metals. And for all we know, maybe some of this stuff, the Helmet of Naboo, maybe some of these weapons that we're seeing here, some of these artifacts, are part of these 12 weapons I just mentioned that Wonder Woman had talked about. But anyways, they find out that Batman has been hiding the Joker here. He has him in prison, and the Joker obviously realizes what's going on, and he even mentions, you're trying to stop me, and I'm playing the bad guy. And that's where things get really, really interesting, especially after Endgame, and we're not really sure the origins of the Joker here. But anyways, we find out when Batman shows up that the machine reconstituted him. They really don't tell you what the machine is, so maybe I'm a little lost here. But we realize that the Joker tells Duke that he's a metahuman, and I'm assuming that he probably has Dionysium in him as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Hal gives Duke a ring because he's realizing that this Blade of Shazam kind of lets him see what the machine should really look like after it's reconstituted Batman, and I guess that kind of destroyed him. But anyways, he puts on the ring, and then you can kind of see what the machine looks like, and he starts to help Batman. But anyways, Batman goes, sits there, and he takes the blade, and he sees into the darkness. And it doesn't show you exactly what he sees. He just, he looks like he sees something that he wasn't expecting. Then it kind of breaks off through 3,000 miles below Gotham. We see some cultists looking up, and they're under the statue of a big bat, and we see the Dark Knights. And we're going to get to see who the true father of Batman is. So, a lot of questions that need answers, and obviously, with all the stuff coming up with Dark Knight's Metal and all the little one-shots and miniseries, that tie into it. Hopefully we'll get all these answers, all these questions answered. So there's some stuff that I was curious about, some questions I had for myself, and I'm going to assume it's Vandal Savage, because we're talking about the Immortal Men here, and they talk about Duke Thomas's mother, who's apparently still alive after the stuff with Endgame, where she's been affected by the Joker's toxin, him and her father. And he said that he had offered, I guess, to reconstitute her, I guess save her and bring her back from her insanity. But makes me wonder if she is one of the Immortal Men, because we're learning that Duke's meta, and then obviously she's meta, and he carries her gene. So I was kind of curious to that, and Batman said that he'll get to choose. So does he get to choose his powers, or does he get to choose if he wants a normal life or the life of a hero? I'm very curious to how that'll play out. It's really cool that Green Lantern's ring is really affected by all this metal that Batman has created, all these artifacts. So it makes me begin to wonder if his ring is made of some of these strange metals, since obviously we've seen the 8th and 9th metal. Where's the 1st through 7th types of metal? Maybe that's what the Green Lantern rings are made out of. So I thought that was really interesting. But it's kind of funny that he gets to drive the Batwing. And that's how they capture the Joker before he escaped. So I thought that was pretty funny, Nice little moment. I could see where Hal would take the opportunity to drive the Batwing just to spite Batman. It makes a lot of sense. Like I had mentioned, there's kind of a rivalry between both of them. And then I had the question of, did Batman find Hawkman's journals? Because we know he's been really investigating this. He's been looking very deep into it. And how does he know as much as he knows? I mean, did he find the journals? Where are the journals? Because obviously the journals have a lot of answers that Batman's going to want. And I'm kind of thinking maybe he has them and we just don't know that yet. So, as I said, a lot of questions that need a lot of answers. And a lot of plot hooks for other stories, like I'd mentioned, like the Aquaman one. And maybe some stuff for even for Wonder Woman with the Greek gods hiding. So I'm curious to see where all this goes to, especially the stuff with Hal Jordan in the ring. I'm really curious to where that leads on to, because I'm a big Green Lantern fan. And especially the machine that reconstituted Batman. Maybe I need to go back and I don't read everything Batman. I just read the main series. So maybe there's some stuff I need to go back and read and find out exactly what this machine is. So, but anyways, like I said, it's not the greatest. It's not bad. It's just a lot of prelude and questions that you're going to want answers to. Really good to read, though. Really excited to read Dark Knight's Metal. Like I said, all the lead up to this is in the New 52 with Court of Owls, Death of the Family, the 0 Year stories, and Endgame, which I've reviewed all those if you'd like to check those out before you start reading this yourself. But I'm JVD. This has been my review for the Forge and the casting, the preludes to Dark Knight's Metal. Like, share, and comment on the video, and keep rooting, guys.